The Language of Flowers is my first novel, and it starts on Victoria Jones's 18th birthday. And she's a young woman who's grown up in foster care. She's never lived anywhere more than a year. And when she ages out of the system, turns 18 and can no longer stay in the foster care system, she ends up homeless and living on the streets in San Francisco. But what's interesting about her is she communicates through the Victorian language of flowers, where every flower has a very specific meaning. So you might know that red rose means love, but rhododendron means beware, and mistletoe means I overcome all obstacles. Every flower has a very specific meaning, and she goes throughout her life leaving these secret messages for people. And then one day a young man at the flower market understands her message and gives her a message in response. So it's about her future with this young man, and also about her past and where she learned the language of flowers. And that's a summary. I wrote this book because I'm very passionate about working with kids in foster care, and I've been a foster parent myself. I have a 19-year-old now who's in college. And when I wrote this book and sold it the way I did all over the country, I realized that I was going to have a very incredible opportunity to bring attention and resources to this issue, because in the United States, 20 to 30,000 young people leave the system every year with nowhere to go often. So what I did was I launched a nonprofit called Chameleon Network. Camellia means my destiny is in your hands. And our goal is to really bring resources and support to young people who are leaving the system nationwide. And we're just launching and getting off the ground, but we're very excited about the potential. So I was at a reading in Northern California, in a very small town, and a woman had driven a long way to get to my reading. She was maybe 65. She had grown up in the foster care system. So that was, 50 years ago. And she held my face like this, and she said, "You made a contribution." She said, "No one has told this story the way you did." So that made me feel, that's what you try to do as a writer. You try to tell a story in a way that captures something true. What's been interesting, I think, is that the Victorian language of flowers itself is very romantic and light, and I think a lot of times people pick up the book because they're interested in this sort of method of communication, but then what they get with the book is a little bit darker maybe than they were imagining. But I think that the combination is right, that I hope that I achieved a balance between sort of the more fun and romantic sort of adventure of life, and also the darker side of abandonment and some of the issues that Victoria is facing. I was the kind of kid that spent my afternoons in bookstores because I wanted to be a writer and I was a reader. And we had this great used bookstore in my hometown where there were stacks and stacks and stacks of books, and you had to kind of find your way through them, and I would spend hours there. And I found a very small book called The Language of Flowers by Kate Greenaway that was an illustrated dictionary, and it was exactly like that. I felt like I had discovered a secret that no one else knew about, and that's the coolest thing when you're 16 years old. I didn't bring very much to college, but I brought that book, and it was just something that I carried with me that I felt like I knew that nobody else knew. And I definitely would seek out flowers and gardens, especially when I was looking for a quiet space to write. People ask me that often about, what is it about flowers that's so important? And I think it's just for Victoria a way to communicate that is different than anything else that she has. And I think for other people that's poetry, or it's music, or it's dance. We, as humans, we look for ways to express ourselves that are more than words, and for Victoria, that's flowers. so many changes all at the same time. You know, my book sold and became successful at the same time that we moved across the country. So I was born and raised in California, now I'm in Boston. So I think I do miss California, but I think that has nothing to do with all the book and everything. I think really I'm thrilled to have this experience and to share it with my kids. Is in the works. You don't know if it's really going to happen until they actually start filming, but it has been optioned to Fox 2000 and there's a screenwriter working on it and they're looking for a director, so it's looking like there will be a movie. I have a very close relationship with the producer, who's a phenomenal woman, and I'm excited to see what comes of it.